around. So I'm like my heavy breathing is.
You're good. You're good. I know this is how we kind of roll in the summer, right? Is that we show up where we can and where we're at. And so I'm so glad that you both did. And I know with Kim, getting ready on this big trip, like kind of a 2-part series trip for you. And so, yeah, lots going on. So let's jump with wins and learning. What wins and learning did you have this week for you?
I had some winnings. So I was planning to get my course all ready and done, and I have not made any progress on it. But I've been watching diligently to see what the status of the BYU After Divorce Conference is doing, and they finally opened it up to accept applications for presenters and to register. So I got I had to pivot a little bit to try, and I'd really like to get that application done and in before I leave. So I've been trying to work on that the last few days. And so I made that a priority. And then my renter called yesterday. I think this is a blessing that it didn't feel like it. She called, I don't know, 2 days ago and said, I don't have any hot water. And so I had to get a repairman over there to look at her hot water heater, and we had to replace it. But I'm just so thankful that it happened when I was still in town and not trying to coordinate things over international lines. So it was a blessing that it went out when it did, and I got that all taken care of. But so I've had all these things that have gotten in my way of actually doing my course. But they were wins. I'm going to count them as wins.
You know what? First of all, it's a huge win that you could look at that as a blessing. Because how many times do we look at that as like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. But looking at it and shifting your perspective, that's huge. Because, and also nobody wants to deal, like if it had gone out and like if it leaked or anything like that, like while you were gone, that's even worse. So there's so many other things. And then I loved that Life After Divorce conference. And it's perfect because are they opening, is it in November again this year? So it's going to be,
it's in November.
Okay,
I couldn't find when there's a deadline of the date, like for when presenters need to get their applications in.
Okay.
It kind of seemed open-ended, but I just didn't want to have to be stressing about it while I was gone. I'd rather get one in. I'd really like to do a co-presenter with Shauna, and we didn't have time to pull all that together quite yet, but at least I can get mine turned in, and then maybe when I get back, there will still be time for us to do that one.
Yeah, and I think that, and I know Connie's gone this week too, but looking at that, because that'll be perfect. If you do the speaker track next, when we start doing that in August, that'll be perfect to help you get ready for that conference. And Connie's spoken there, so she knows exactly how that goes. I just wrote something down. I will see right after we're done. I'll go see if I can find a module where Connie talks about submitting an application to kind of give you a little bit of heads up and see if that helps, because I know we've talked about it before in speaker track, but I could find that little piece for you if that would be helpful.
Yeah, it would be great. They want an 8 to 10 minute video, and I didn't want to take the time to prepare something totally new that I have to memorize and record. So I just took a clip out of my workshop, and it's edited because I took all my ahs and ums out already, but I'm just going to submit it and hopefully that'll be okay.
Yeah. And sometimes they want to see you. Yeah. Sometimes I want to see you in front of somebody. And so, if you've done that, and it's kind of hard. And I don't know if they don't have a deadline, then it might be something that you even
can submit another one or something.
Yeah.
I hope.
Or do
it
later, or if they'll let you do it late, when you get back, because then you could do one where it's just like a 1 point thing. What they really want to see, and what I've heard Connie share before, they really want to see how you, how you present and then what you talk about. So it's really, I know I've seen other women do that same thing too when they submitted for women's conference and for education week, they ask the same type of thing. They just want to see your style and see what you do. So, but that would be a good one too, if you reach out to a couple other people who've done that, you know, whether it was Katrina or I'm like, Diane hasn't done one yet. I'm trying to think who else. We had Katrina, Chelsea, you know, some of those women say, hey, when you apply for this, what tips do you have?
Yeah, Ingrid is the one that I think would be really fun to do with Shauna, even something similar where we have a little bit back and forth, because like our stories are so vastly different, but they all kind of came to the same place and we learned things different ways. And I think that's a really important message. And so I'd really like to be able to do that. So when I get back, I might tell her we need to try to do a video of the two of us and just share some of our stories.
And it's okay to reach out and ask if there's an email on there, and reach out and say, hey, I didn't notice a deadline. Is there a deadline to this?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll maybe try and do that before
because
I go.
Because if you do that, then that might give you your answer, and then knowing you don't have to rush and get it. That way you can have a little bit more polished than feeling like you're just trying to rush and get something and get a couple points. So I'll see if I can find that video for you about that, so you could just run through it, that module, and I can share that with you. So
okay, that'd be awesome.
Will that be okay? Yeah, awesome. And I love that. And you know, even with that course, sometimes it's like we have these big hopes, and the Heavenly Father's like, no, I've got something else for you to think about. And so so that's okay. I love that. Tanya, how about for you? Any wins in learning?
I will say, sorry, just one more thing that was so sweet. So I did my sacrament talk, you know, on the family proclamation, and I thought I'm gonna like if I had to do a TED talk, I'd really like to draw on the sacrament talk, because it is about the family proclamation and being divorced. And so I thought, well, I better share it with my brothers and sisters, you know, because it's very personal and it was about them. So I sent it to my mom and dad and my brothers and sisters, and they were so happy about it, you know, like, okay, this is such a different perspective. And my mom called me and said, I just read your talk. I think you you know, you paint us in too good of a light. But she said, Mike, my stepbrother, was reading it and was in tears as he read it to me. And so I was just happy that he connected to it, because it's his life story too. But anyway, so I guess that's another little baby win. And I actually have had multiple people reach out to me and say, hey, it just occurred to us after your talk that maybe you know how my kids are feeling in this, you know, pull of being parented in two different homes and having one that's really difficult to work with, and you know, stark contrast in homes. And so I've actually met with a couple of the people in my ward and just kind of shared some things for them to think about, because it is such a hard thing and so challenging. So that was a little tender mercy too of that talk. So anyway.
That's thank you for sharing that. That is, the doors open in different ways, right? For us. And it's not like we get up in sacrament meeting for the purpose of, you know, that kind of thing, but it's for him, right? And knowing when they come to you, like, okay, it's that I'm gonna call it that, it's that payoff, right? Of going, okay, and knowing that, okay, Heavenly Father, I did what you asked. Like you reached who needed to be reached through me. And that's right. That's the win, as the DTL is going, that one. And then being able to go, okay, and I can serve them still, knowing the tools I have and the knowledge I have. So I love that. So great, Kim. Thank you for sharing that. So good. Sure. So Tanya, how about you?
Hold on one second. Lily, will you watch for them? And why? Here, because we need to show Lucy and Holland how to come find us. Okay.
Oh, the joys of summer. Right?
Yeah. We have band camp this weekend next, so just stand like right over here. I don't want you out in the cars. Okay. Just stand so they can see you. Thank you. There we go. Okay. You're fine now since that car moved. They should be able to see us. Okay. Sorry guys.
You're okay.
So I've actually had a really, really good week. My things have just, like, I felt so nervous about like launching this course and, you know, reaching out to people. I didn't want them to feel like I was being pushy or salesy. You know, I always worry about that. And so it's actually felt really, really good. Because I just turned it over to God, and I was like, I did the same thing I did when I was getting remarried. I was like, if this is meant to work out, then keep putting everything together. And if it's not, then make it all fall apart. And so that's what I've been doing. And I've just kept doing the things I need to do every day. And it's been amazing. Like I have 9 women so far doing the course with me, and still some more that I'm reaching out to. I've done some scholarships, but I waited until that I wanted to make sure they had an interest and that they weren't just wanting to do something free. You know what I'm saying? And then they were really appreciative about getting a scholarship, and some people that, like my relationship with the single mom KC, I'm really seeing, not that that's why I ever did it, but I'm seeing the fruits of that. Like the director is going to do the course with us, and I had offered her, you know, I'd offered a discount for their organization. Please don't do that right now. Okay. When we get home and I'm off the phone, you can. And so she's going to do the course with us, and I'd offered a discount, and she's like, no, I just want to pay the full price, you know, so that helps offset a little bit. Anyway, it's just been really, really, really good. And I'm very happy and grateful that God's working all these things out. You know, it's that I feel like I'm able to push myself more, knowing, and put myself in more situations where it's like, okay, I know I can't do this on my own, God. I know I need you to be able to accomplish this. Whereas before I would have been like, no, this is, and I'm not saying I don't ever say this, but you know, I would be like, oh, this is too much. I just can't handle all this. And I'm sure there's times where they also have that, but there's like right now it feels like a push time of like, you know, doing all, getting things moving. And I'm loving how the momentum feels, and it's just really, really good.
That's amazing. I love this, both of you, like just huge wins. Tanya, that's awesome. And I love that you're seeing that it feels right. It's so nice when you're like, oh, it's not just one person, you know, it's those 2 or 3 and those scholarships, and both of you hearing that snowball effect, right? That you're willing to do it, and then seeing kind of the fruits, like the trickle down, right? That it's coming. And then something you just said, that when you said you basically partnered with God, and you just said, okay, I'm going to work with you and do this. And when you reach out to people, that's why, you know, we don't always just mass message people, right? And we might in a way, but we do it with the person in mind, right? It's prayerful. We partner with him.
Well,
and
I was just going to say, like, I'm learning to notice when it's coming from him, like their whole name will come to me just really clearly in my mind. And and they don't always want to necessarily do it, or maybe they're not interested, or maybe it's not the right time, but at least I'm still putting that offer out there, you know, and planting that seed. And I've seen the value in actually inviting, not just telling somebody about it, but like inviting them to it. And it's just been, you know, because like with Rachel at the Single Mom KC, I don't think she would have joined us if I hadn't, because I'd shown her my website, shown her what I had created before, and she was like, oh, that looks nice. But then when I actually invited her to join us in the course, then she did, you know. And so I'm just, it feels like I'm stepping into where I've been trying to go for a really long time. You know, it feels like that things are working. And I mean, I've been wanting to launch this course for a couple of months, and now it's like, okay, this is the right time, and things are working out. So
I love that. Yay. I love it. So happy for you both. So happy for you, Tanya. This is so great. And I love that you're seeing this come, and you're taking those steps to reaching out, connecting, doing that. And you're going to, you know, and I know for you, it's energy rich to be doing that coaching and that group. So I'm so excited to see what happens in this course. Now, you start, what day do you start your course?
Next Tuesday will be our welcome call.
Okay. And what is your timeline? What are you running through? What's your,
so we will be, so technically it'll be 7 weeks of us meeting because of the welcome call. And then we'll take off the week of 4th of July. So we'll be running until the first week of August.
Okay. I love that. And I would consider, and I know you had mentioned that maybe you wanted to certify after, and I would say let's certify during. If we hop on, like when you do one and you record one, then I can go on and watch and kind of give a review, if that makes sense. And there will be times that I can hop on and listen.
Well, I
you're
just
doing
haven't, I'm just not ready to do the 5-day challenge yet. And it seems like that's one of the things I need to do to certify. So I will probably, I think I'll do that the next time I launch the course. Because I want to do a more official launch, have all the people, right now I don't even have my website correct, you know, so, but the next time I will have all those parts and stuff in place. And I'll do the 5-day challenge and all that. I don't know that I don't have that done right now. And
that's okay, because what we can do is you build this out. Like I said, we can go in there and get those pieces in place as you're going. And that's, so I want to say certify as we go along, if that makes sense, but you're not ready to be certified yet, is what you're saying. But as you build that out, we can go through, and this is a perfect time to do that because, you know, you're in between tracks, right? And so as you do that, and if there's something else, you know, as you're coaching, we're going through that, and we can still have open office hours, that kind of thing, where you can hop on, hop off questions. So does that make sense? Well, so we're looking at that I'm saying for summer, we're going to consider having open office hours with a coach a week. Does that make sense? So you could hop on, hop off, ask questions, not necessarily a set course and community time. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah. So who would it be, you doing it, or would it be like just,
we haven't decided, but it could be what we've done.
Talk about.
Yeah, it could be a rotation. So we'll talk. I'm going to talk to the core council about that this week. And, but it would be a rotation, whoever, like, we'd probably have one person leading it each week. And then you could, it's a hop in, hop out. Like, okay, I've got a thing I need to ask, but of course we'll still have coaching times. So that's not going to change.
Okay. I was going to say, because once I'm trying really hard, I've got most of the pieces and parts of my opt-in ready to go. I just am having some technical things I'm still getting figured out. So I'm trying to get that done by tomorrow. Hopefully that will happen. And then while I'm doing the podcasting, it just feels like a lot to.
Yes. Yeah. Totally understand. And so that's why we want to, and I get that. So, because, it's that kind of thing. And so I would encourage you to make sure that when you're doing the podcasting, that's fine, but let's make sure we're touching base on how the course is going. Even if it's a weekly Marco Polo, I want to make sure that I know where you're at. And I can't remember, you said you're doing it Tuesdays at what time?
It's 1:30 my time, so 12:30 your time.
On Tuesdays. Okay. Unless my admin meeting changes, I won't be able to hop on live, but I would love if you record them to be able to watch them. Because I was going to say, hey, put me in there. So I was going to say, put me in there. But maybe put me in there anyway, but knowing that I may not be able to be on live, if that's okay.
Okay. So just so that way you can get the recordings.
Yeah. And I can follow and see how you're doing, and I can give feedback as you want.
Okay.
Especially
that
if you're
sounds great. I think that sounds good. I'm good with that. I'm good with checking in and
that way we can make sure we have those pieces that as you do it, you can be certified and not feel like you have to redo the whole certification process when you launch it again. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Because you've already done so much work. Okay. All right. Okay. Kim, what are either one of you, what questions do you have right now before I jump into any of the coaching stuff? Anything that I can help you with today? Questions?
I don't have questions other than so I'm thinking to be totally like have this launched and done. My goal now is July 15th when I get back, but I don't know how that lines up with everything else because I am eager to get to like the speaking track and decide,
when do you
what
get
other
back?
things I need to do. I
When
get
you get
back like June 30th.
Okay.
So that gives me a couple of weeks.
Okay, so when you get back, let's make sure we connect, and then you and I make sure that we are touching base and see what you need to launch. And that gives you time. Speaker track will probably start in August. So that gives you time to finish getting certified here, there, and of course the podcasting track, like we said, is always going to be there. That's not going to be as she's building, right? Just kind of like you are building out as we go. She's got that. She's got an outline recording, so it'll be evergreen. So just know there's not a missing out thing here. So
okay. And then Tanya, I didn't get to peer review the stuff that you sent me, but so definitely, so if you have something, I guess what I'm saying is if you have something new you want me to peer review by the time I get back, I'm happy to do that too, but I've got that on my list of things, so I didn't forget.
And I know you're muted, Tanya, but
well, we've got some issues going on here in the car.
You're good.
So
I was saying maybe after you record one of your modules, then you can
I can do that. Yeah, I'm not in a rush for that. And I did watch part of yours, Kim. I just haven't had a chance to go back and actually fill out the sheet. So but yes, I can that sounds fine. Like once I do like my first week or so, then I'll send that to you.
Okay.
No rush, because obviously I'm going to be focused on traveling, but so.
Okay, I love it. So how about we do this and we make sure, Tanya, you and I will stay connected, Marco Polo, as you're doing your thing. I'll stay connected with how things are going and any back end stuff as you're building this course out. Let me know, let me help in any way that I can.
Are you familiar? Because I did the funnel breathing and I love it so far. And they're helping me with like tech things. But if I get stuck, do you know that system?
I don't yet, but I know Diane has been doing that. And
yeah, I knew she was.
But there's a lot of stuff that I can help with because I am familiar with, because there's a lot of tech stuff that is very similar and that's easy for me to pick up on. So if she can't help you, feel free to reach out to me. So, okay.
I will do that because right now I've just got a few like loose ends I need to tie up on my landing page. I think I've got it mostly done. And then I need to get my emails set up. I'm just trying to do it so I can get it done before the podcasting and then actually go back in and like go through their stuffing and do it right. But so that I'm following through her modules and stuff. But I love it. It's been really good. It's good. So good.
I am so glad. I mean, because I can tell Tasha that, especially if she knows that a few of you guys have been doing that. She'll love that because she's one of our affiliates. So she's been so great to work with. So love it. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for telling me that. And that's good. So let's stay. So I'm thinking that after today, we'll kind of pause and Tanya, you and I will keep up. And then Kim, when you get back, we'll make sure we set up a regular time to meet. And then if Tanya come on, because I'd love to hear how that's going so we can get you certified by the speaking track, if that makes sense. If both we have that goal. And Tanya, for you, that will be, and that makes sense because with Kim's course and how far that's going, right? That would make sense that about that time in August when we're starting is about the time you could certify. So if that feels good to both of you, that feels okay with me.
I think that sounds good because thank you so much. Thank you. You too. So I think that sounds great because oh goodness. Okay. in August is probably when I would do the 5-day challenge anyway. So
Okay.
I think that sounds great.
I think that's fantastic. Fantastic. Awesome. I love that. Okay. So today I'm going to hop in and just in our last few minutes, we'll talk about some coaching tips when you are coaching. And this is a key piece in this. And I think that both of you already have a lot of foundation in coaching. And so I've got a module that you can watch about coaching tips and some things to do. And I have this download that is in the module. It's in Member Vault, and it is week 10. I believe I want to make sure I give you the right week. Yeah, it's coaching best practices week 10, and week 11 is I'm kind of combining those this week. And so the coaching tips that I want to share with you, I have 5 tips, and these are ones that as I share them, if you have ones to add, please add them. Okay, the first tip is always remembering that your person has they have the answers within, right? As you're coaching along, you're asking, it's good to ask questions. So ask, speak less, and encourage them to find that and help them know that they have the answers. And so basically as a coach, it's your job to guide them, right? And so some questions that I love to ask are, what do you, especially if you find that you get, you're in this group setting and where both of you are going to be having group calls, it's really important to ask that. And it can be easy as a coach. And I find myself slipping into this where I like to tell, because I know what you need to do. I know I've been there, but helping them discover it because they'll remember it more when they go, this idea. Okay. So this is kind of that process, is to ask them some questions like, what do you feel your real goal is? What obstacles are holding you back? And one thing is, they'll say, sometimes they're like, I don't even know. I don't know what's going on. And say, well, if you were the expert, what do you think that would be? What would that look like? And because sometimes if we've switched that, they might say, well, then I would be able to do A, B, C, D. I would feel confident. I would have a schedule. I would have, okay, well, how do you think you could do that? What are things that you've tried? What have you seen other people try? So some questions about that. So the first one, right? They have the answers within. The second one is listen and validate. Because how many times do we hear something and people we're in a conversation, we share something that's happened with us, or you hear an interview and people just you feel like nobody even heard what you just said. Right? They say, this was really painful for me. And this really happened. Like, okay, well, I have this great thing to teach you today. And you're like, wait, did you even hear what I just said? And so listening, and you always say, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. And then I'll say, that's got to be frustrating. It's hard when you feel that. And the reason we say that is as soon as you make a validating statement, they realize, you get it because you've been there, right? Because you can tell when somebody hasn't been there. So you listen to them, you step into their space and you validate what they say. And then always say, I love how you did this, right? You did A, B, C, D. I love what you did there. Find the positive for them. And then the third step is ask for permission to coach. Hey, can I give you some ideas that I've seen work for other people or that I've tried? Always asking that. And say, I've had a few thoughts to come to mind. And then always asking again, have you thought some questions that you can use? And again, this is on this coaching tips page. Have you thought about, can I make a suggestion? What have you considered? How would you feel if, how does that resonate with you? To say, what do you think about this? What if you tried this? Now, both of you know when we've had coaching, hey, it sounds like you might be dealing with this. Does that sound right to you? And you want to ask that because it might be, nope, you totally missed the mark. That's not it. Even if you know as a coach that is part of it, they might not be there yet and discovered that yet, right? And say, okay, well, what is it? And keep asking those questions to help them see, and then help them choose a next specific step. It's so important because sometimes we can be in at least for me, I can be in the validating phase the whole time. But as a coach, we want them to see that there is a step out. We don't want them to sit in the same place, and we want to be transformational, right? So asking them, where does it lead? And is it leading to your outcomes? Is it leading to what the ROI is? What is your ROI of your course for them? Is it you know, for some people it's, oh, getting that money, but for them, it might be they're getting confidence, you know, so asking yourself, how do I know when they're successful in your mind again? And then also asking, what do they need? And I love, Tanya, how you brought up at the beginning, partnering with the Lord. And as a DTL, always going in and praying, you know, I'm always with a prayer in my heart and really listening. What would he have me say? And usually the things that I'm led to read during the week before or study, in some way they come up. It's always amazing to me how then somebody will be having an issue, a problem. And I'm like, oh, I just read this thing in this book, you know, and knowing that. And then the fifth one is encouraging them to use the SMART goal method, right? Is it something they can do? It's doable. And with both of you and your courses, I love because you're going to be giving them a step at a time, right? Here's one actionable step that they can do and helping them know what they can look for by doing that, right? Helping them know what that outcome is and having them do those small chewable chunks. So those are the main things, is remembering they have to help them find the answers within, because as a transformation coach, that's what you're doing. Listen and validate, ask for permission to coach, help them choose the next right step and say, okay, what's your next step this week? What are you working on? And what's that goal? Let's write it down and do it. Okay, so those are some coaching tips there. The other thing is when you're running a group, it's really important.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Okay. May I ask a question? So if you're doing, like, if I'm doing this in my group session, you know, I'm probably only going to help them with like one thing at a time, right?
Yes.
We don't have a lot of time. But if I'm coaching just, you know, like an hour-long session with someone, do you feel like you need to ask that question every time, like with each different thing that comes up? You know, asking them if it's okay to share your ideas with them, or what do you think? Does it with each thing, or do you think to do it at least one time during that session?
You know, at least one time during that session, you say, hey, I have some thoughts. How do you feel about this, you know, thing? And say, but yeah, getting their permission in the beginning to validate that and going back and forth. But yeah,
I think I don't usually say like, can I have permission to share this with you? But I do say, I was thinking this, and how do you feel about that?
Yeah, or say, can I make a suggestion?
I was going to say, once you develop a rapport with someone and you have that, you know, you've had multiple or more than one, I would say at least sessions with them, that then you're not asking for permission because you're really tuned in to their needs. And then it just is dependent on if you think they're going to receive it or not.
Yeah. And I do like that. At the same time, though, even saying, would you like a suggestion of something I've seen? Or like when you say, what have you tried? You know, saying, what have you tried to do that? And then I still am somebody that, have you considered, even using the yips, right? Have you considered, you know, can I make a suggestion? Even that is asking for permission without saying, can I, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So just saying, hey, some thoughts, or how does it feel if you tried this? Does that make sense? So instead of saying, the idea is to put it in the form of a question, not necessarily, asking, because they want you to coach and say, okay, I have some thoughts. What have you tried?
Right.
Okay, and here's something that I've tried. Are you interested in hearing that? Sometimes that is, well, you've done that report, but yeah.
You made her mad. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you're right. She's all mad. She's like, no. But, right. Is it funny? Like how that goes off? Like, oh, yeah.
Like, right.
I know, I'm joking. But so I would just, it's even when you're coaching, even when you're like as a parent or that kind of thing, right? Hey, here's a thought. Tell me how this sits with you. Right?
You need their buy-in.
Sorry, say that. Yeah, their buy-in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's why we say ask permission.
And you're like, you know, by asking all those questions, you're helping lead them on this journey so that it's internalizing within them, that you're not just, hey, do this.
Yes.
You're asking these questions to help internalize it and realize that they have the ability to do this, you know, because you don't want them to need you forever. I don't want somebody to need me forever. I just want to be a tool, you know, something
Yeah.
guide and helping them see what they can do.
Right. And I love that you share that, because that's the other thing is when you're in a coaching session, an hour-long coaching session, typically you will be sitting with one main struggle, right? One main thing, but that might be, oh, we've moved through that, but and so even when I've done it with somebody who's done a full-on coaching session with me once, she said, hey, have we done this visualization? I'd like to try that. Would you like to try that with me? Even something like that. So you're getting permission, but without making it sound like you're getting permission, if that makes sense. So hopefully that clarifies that piece, but.
Okay. We took a few deep breaths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like nobody likes to be commanded, right? Because then we feel like we want to let them keep their agency. Because there might be a time that somebody wants to share something and they're not open. They're really not open to moving through something yet. And they need to be open to that. Because if we just say, hey, I've got this thing for you, let's do it right now. And they're like, no, I'm not ready to bridge that. Okay. So, so that's one-on-one, but that can also be even in a group setting.
Yeah, I like that.
And so in a group setting, though, you're going to run, typically, sometimes you'll run your call a little bit differently. You might, and I would encourage an outline that you have of how you want to run your call each week, because as you set that precedence, they'll know. It's like when you hop on a call, that we typically go, okay, we have a prayer, because that's what we do. We have wins and learning. And we love to start with wins and learning because it starts with that positive pump. And so that way it primes that for them to be looking for the positive. We're setting the mood in the room. We're setting that tone. And it also helps them connect. So you're really connecting them and set the tone for what you want that win to look like. If you have 10 people in a room and you want wins, you're just say, okay, we have 5 minutes for wins, who's got to win. But it could be, hey, you got a 10-second win. What happened this week? What did you notice? Just depending. Or maybe there's somebody they had a win and you want them to share. Okay, so setting that, or you have a thought. And then a lot of times, like you'll see, we'll do, okay, well, what questions you have? Where can we help you out? What did you have for this? And typically what we have done and found works is letting people know that they have this amount of time. Right? If they're coming in, if it's a hop on, hop off, we'll say, okay, something that can be handled in a 5-minute time. Because if you are opening it to everybody, then you need to make sure that you've scheduled out. But you might say, okay, we've got 15 minutes and here, what questions you have, put them in the chat and I'm going to answer them. Another thing I've seen work well is ahead of time, the day before, you say, okay, we're going to do some Q&A. Anybody who submits their question to me, we'll discuss some of those. So that way you already know what's going to be coming. But that way you give people time, because sometimes you'll get into a room and one person takes 20 minutes. And it's like, well, how do we handle that, right? So saying, okay, so one thing is to say, okay, you've got 5 minutes. Okay, I can do this one thing, or I don't have time to answer that here, but let's set up a call. Or I've got a module, we're going to be talking about that in a later week. So if you can hang tight, but I'll text you and give you a few tips, or I'll put them in the WhatsApp. I've got this thing, if that makes sense. So something that they know that you're giving them, you're not just shoving them off.
Because I'm going to be using Marco, so I'll offer that.
Yeah, and to say, send me a Marco, because we just can't do that. But that way they still can feel connected. You can still give them something. And then if you don't hear from them, I would encourage you to follow up and just say, hey, I got this. Just let me know if you still want any answer to your question. But setting that precedence in a Zoom call, what that looks like. And if you're going to teach, then making sure you set up that teaching time. Like for you specifically where you're going to be building out your course, I would do wins and learning if you're going to do that. It's just an idea. And then doing your 15 minutes of training and then opening up to Q&A, if that makes sense. That way you make sure you get your training time in that you're going to be filming. And then if you don't want them answering questions on the side, like back and forth, Just say, okay, answer any questions you have at the slide. And then when I get to the Q&A, I'll go through them in the chat afterwards. Does that make sense? So that way, when you start, and then start knowing where you're going to start and stop. So any questions on that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay. No, I think that sounds really good. That's
and then
pretty much what I was trying to.
Awesome. And then the last thing is just have a way that they can, at the end, set their intention for the week so that they know their assignment, they know what you're asking them to do, and then you kind of have an idea of that touch point. So yeah, so reviewing, you have a return and report, you have a teaching time, your Q&A, and then their next steps, if that makes sense. That's just worked really well for us in Q&As and group Zoom calls. So, but any questions on that or any thoughts?
Sounds good.
Okay. And then the last thing is
are those
go ahead.
I think we are on like a delay. What you were just sharing about the group, is that in member vault anywhere? If not, I'll just come back and take notes.
If not, I will go and look and see, because I think I don't know if we do, but I was thinking about that this morning, and that's one reason I'm like, oh, we better touch on that. So I will group coaching template. Okay. And I'll have Jerusha look and see if we can put that in there of ideas of ways to run groups. And I can come up with a quick download and put that in there. So I'll put it in there with that coach nurturing piece in week 10. And then the last thing that we were going to cover today, and I'll just have you watch, is your CRM or your CSM. Either way, so it's a customer relationship management tool. And typically a CRM is used for when you're getting leads, and then you write down their names. You pay attention to when you contacted them, how you contacted them, and any notes that go along with that. It's super important. So that way you come back and follow up so you know who your warm leads are for your next session. Okay. And it also gives you, oh, this is when they did my course. This is when they did it. What's next? And then following up with them.
So that's cool.
Okay. And then the other one is we like to call a CSM, which is a client success management tool. So that way you can follow along. If you have assignments that you're asking them to do or things to turn in, that you're able to track, and you know how you're going to track that. Is it a return and report? Is it that they finish a module and you see what they've done? It's so good to see. One thing that we like to do in this is have a beginning survey. Where are they now? So having a list of several questions of, on a scale of 1, even rating on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you in your confidence? How are you in your time management, in your organization, your overwhelm? Whatever those pain points are, or your ideal life, like where are they? Do a scale of 1 to 10 at the beginning of the course. And then at the end of the course, have them do another survey, that almost the exact same survey that says, where are you now? How are you feeling? And then ask a few of those questions. What do you love? What would you wish there were more of? And how can we support you moving forward? What do you need? And then that gives you the before and after, so you can actually get statistics on how this is transformational for people. Does that make sense? Are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
Did I cut out?
I'm still here, but it doesn't seem like you. Can you hear me?
I can. Did it cut out?
I think we're just delayed for some reason. Like you'll talk and then you don't hear me for like a few seconds.
It's all good. Okay. Any questions on that, on a CSM or the surveys?
Do you just, so in Funnel Breezy, I have the CRM ability in there. But would you just recommend like a spreadsheet then for tracking, like for this?
Yeah. Just so you, especially if you're going to have like 10 women in there, so that way you just have an update of when you've reached out to them each week. You know, I don't know if you're going to be reaching out to them each week, but who came on the call? You know, did they come on a call? Are they moving forward? That way you have an idea of where people are at, if that makes sense. And so
Yes.
she would say, her phone died.
Her phone died.
Oh, bless her heart.
I'm going to tell her I thought you were mad.
That's right. Yeah. And then for the survey, just do a quick Google survey that you give them in a WhatsApp or something. So that way they can see it. And it's fun. We've done before where we've done a course and we've shown them their results of, okay, well, at the beginning you were here and now you're here. So that way they could see the improvement, because sometimes they may not see it until after, but then you show them and say, look, you improved by like this amount. You were at a 1 and now you're at a 5, you know, where before, or you were at a 7. And we've seen that. And it's just amazing for them to see that that was the ROI that they might not have noticed in the meantime, but afterwards they were able to go back and go, you're right. That did change for me. So does that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, would it be helpful if I got you some before and after survey templates?
That would be amazing.
Okay.
That would be really helpful. Yes.
Okay. Then you could use those and make your own. So, okay. So this has been helpful for me too, because as we go, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this and let's build this. And I just want to thank you both, just that you've been so willing to jump in with us as we've used Brooke's stuff for the first time and combining this and seeing, okay, where are the gaps? What do we need? And where do we move forward from here? So thank you for being almost like beta testers with this different module. So appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions before we hop off, Tanya?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. All right. What's your goal for this week?
Let's see. My goal for this week is to get prepared for my welcome call and get everything wrapped up and everybody ready to go, and then also get my tier 1 stuff finished up.
Okay. How can I support you in that? What do you?
Oh, I don't know right now. Let me sit down and look at it, and then tomorrow. I'll have more time. Today I don't have as much time to work on things,
Totally understand.
But I have more time tomorrow, so I will let you know tomorrow what I need help.
Okay, I'd be happy to help you preparing for that launch if there's anything that you need.
Okay.
Whether it's emails, text side, or just feeling like you have that ready to jump and go. So, and if
actually, what would be helpful is if you have any ideas for how to structure the welcome call.
Okay.
Because it'll be a little, and I want to have more time on that call for them to be able to talk and get to know each other and just start opening up. So if you have any,
like a template, an outline.
Yes, that would be great. I want to give them some sort of I'm going to give them the survey. I think that'll be their homework, to fill out the survey. So I know exactly where everyone's at before that next week. And I might if I have it ready before then, I'll send it out before then, but, and I'll probably give an overview of the course and what we'll be doing and some housekeeping of how things will work. But if you have any good questions, getting to know you questions or a structure, that would be great.
Okay. I love that. I will, I can get that to you. So I can do that. Okay. Well, thanks, you. You bet. Okay. Have a good week. See ya.
You too. See you later. Bye-bye.